everyone, and welcome to the March 2021 episode of the Great British Mickey Waffle. My name is Sammie, and joining us for this episode today are Ben, Becca, Claire, John, Jill, and Peter. How is everyone?
Okay, thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Good.
Great, thanks, sorry.
What did you say, John?
Great. I went
Tony the Tiger.
I went more positive response than anybody, you see.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like you stood out beautifully.
Great. I may be lying, but however...
I was going to say, it sounded slightly sarcastic, John.
Yeah. I feel that.
Living the full effects of lockdown.
Yeah.
You were just staying up to watch the Super Bowl the other day.
I only did half time.
Still later than I stayed up for it.
Now, if you've been keeping up to date with our podcast, then you'll know that the past few episodes we've been delving into choices of accommodation that can be chosen when planning an Orlando vacation. We've looked at the Disney Vacation Club and renting points, the pros and cons of staying at a villa, and the difference in staying on-site and off-site. So to wrap this up, I want to have a quick discussion with the group to see if our opinion on these options have changed and if we've learned anything, if we would consider one option over another now, just to kind of see what we've learned and where we've kind of come to at the end of this accommodation section. So Ben, let's start with you.
Okay, well,
what's your preferred method and kind of what have you learned or over the past few episodes?
it's going to be sticking with DVC because otherwise that would have been a very expensive choice not to stick with. But it's thinking of what other, looking into the future, when we have kids, what other accommodation options are available and whether that can extend our trip. Because we might get to a point where we've got enough points that we can just stay in the studio, but we're going to need at one point possibly 1 bedroom, 2 bedroomed, or we can do longer trips if we decide to stay off site or in a villa. And yeah, I think it's been quite useful going through the options that we've never looked at villas before. So going into sort of the options, the areas to stay, has been quite useful.
Yeah, I mean, it was easy to come to you first because obviously you guys are, you and Becca are DVC members, Disney Vacation Club members, so I assumed that you would stick with that method. Becca, are you the same?
Pretty much. DVC would be my preferred, but if it was the choice between going or not going, then I'd stay anywhere.
Oh, 100%.
Anywhere and everywhere. We've stayed off site before we got Disney Vacation Club, so if it was a choice of not going, then I'd stay off site again easily.
Yeah, I mean, I've stayed off site and on site, and it would be hard for me now to stay off site. But I definitely think that if I was like low on cash or wanted to go on a budget trip, I'd happily stay off site, kind of on International Drive or something. A villa is never going to really be for me. I think I don't drive, my partner drives, but I don't know, a villa doesn't really excite me as much as staying on site does. But it was really good for me to learn about Disney Vacation Club because I didn't know anything about it really. I'm still like, I've kind of got it now in my head, but I think it sounds like a really good option if I wanted to stay somewhere kind of more deluxe or moderate. It's definitely an option to look into, and it's something I would look into in the future. But
especially if you thought of renting points as well, it's a different way into it. That if
I don't think I would ever buy.
We could rent more points if we needed to, or
I don't think I would ever buy into DVC, but I would definitely consider renting 100% now. But who else has learned something? Yeah, Peter?
Yeah, this is kind of both me and Jill together, but we are, we've never stayed off-site before. We really are on-site people, but we are considering doing a sneaky 7-night January trip and staying in the Disney Springs, one of the Disney Springs hotel areas.
Was that like, are they called neighbor hotels or partner hotels or something?
Tempting though it would be to rent points, at the present moment, perhaps a slightly more kind of straightforward option is one of these off-site hotels that's still really near. It's about a 10-minute walk to Disney Springs.
Yeah,
it looks
sounds
a really nice hotel. So yeah, it's a possibility.
So yes,
for sure.
we've looked into. So talking about this caused us to look into staying off-site.
Yeah.
So it has changed our mind. Yeah.
But that's good. And again, like it is a better money option if you're looking to try and keep costs low. But like I think if that does go ahead, it'd be really interesting to hear kind of what you think the difference was between a partner hotel and like an actual on-site hotel. So it'd be quite
Plus, I'm getting to the point now where heck, I'd stay in a shoebox.
Yeah, exactly. We're all getting a bit desperate, aren't we?
Find a shoebox in the TTC, and I'll squeeze into there somehow.
No, definitely. Claire, you've always been a villa person. Is that changed?
Oh, I think I'm just going to go and buy somewhere in Golden Oak.
I love that idea.
Yeah. You can all stay. It's fine.
That's not you'll stay around Claire's.
I probably haven't changed because, unfortunately, we still have a family that's too big for a hotel room. However, we are taking advantage. This is awful. Please don't anyone judge. We're taking advantage of the fact that Morgan's going to university. And so the rest of us, the three of us that are remaining in the family, we have a trip booked in October and we are staying on site because we can all fit in a hotel room. So for the first time ever, I've booked a moderate. I'm starting to twitch a little bit, but I'll deal with it, I think. So
you'll love it. It's a great hotel.
Yeah, we're booked at Grandestino.
Oh wow.
And
it's gorgeous.
Hopefully, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So we're going to stay on site for the first time in years. But that is purely opportunistic because there's only 3 of us, not 4 of us. For family holidays where we're all there, we will still be villa people. And actually, I would, having talked to John a bit more about where he's staying, I think that we might look a little bit. I tend to be a bit of a snob in terms of villas. I take a lot of time looking, as we talked about before, and I like to stay really close. I might actually start looking a bit further out into Reunion and Champions Gate just because I think you get more for your money. And actually, we all like to be there at 7 a.m, but actually you don't need to be if you've been lots of times. So we might just stay a little bit further out, get a bit more for our money. But yeah, we're still villa people. I like to have the space. I like to have the pool, and I definitely like the off-site restaurants and things like that. So that's not going to change. And even when we stay at Grandestino, we will have a car so we can go and eat off-site.
Just think, in a few years, Morgan will be old enough to buy his own hotel room.
Do you know what? He'll be old enough to drive us everywhere, and I won't care.
And did you think about renting points when you booked your moderate, or
no? Because I just think at the moment the risk of renting points and not being able to go, it worries me slightly. I know that most reputable renters will give a guarantee of a change of dates or even a refund. Unfortunately, last year where we had some dates planned and we had to cancel, we lost some money. And I just don't. For me, I think if I probably wouldn't risk it in the current climate. I would do in the future, or if COVID wasn't a thing, but that's not where we are. So
I think you're right there, Claire. It's one of those things. It's having that security at the minute. It's like every time we've looked at flights and everything, it's like, okay, what list of things, if things do happen or things don't change, am I going to get my money back? What
exactly.
Can I do? Can I move the date? Do I get a voucher? It's having that security when you're booking at the minute, because we don't know when things are going to open back up.
And I think it's really interesting because it's changed. The last 12 months have really changed how everybody plans their holidays. Whereas before, I'd have been hell for leather, let's book the flights, we'll not to worry about it too much. But now, for the first time, I really find myself reading the terms and conditions, which actually I probably should have been doing anyway. But, regardless of whether I'm booking a day trip to Harry Potter in Watford or going on a 3-week trip to California, I'm reading the T's and C's and really carefully going through that fine print. So that can only be a positive thing.
Definitely. No, that totally makes sense. 100%. John, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I've learned loads as we've done this over the past few months, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it too. Because actually, I've found every single one of the segments that we've done about this sort of fascinating. From especially talking about Vacation Club and what that has to offer. I must admit, I love staying on site. I could talk forever about some of the hotels that we stayed in, but I've got to say, I'm really in a quandary at the moment, and I've got to say, I actually feel with the way that Disney are playing an awful lot of things, there's a lack of a dining plan, which would definitely swing us back towards looking on site for a split stay. I think that's the way we've always tried to do the best of both. And also, there was something else that cropped up just a couple of days ago, and I was just thinking, our last day, we stayed at the yacht club, but we managed to wrangle it that we'd booked before Disney started charging UK guests for parking. But that's gonna stack up on the cost list as well. And so I'm beginning to think I'm with Claire. The freedom of your villa and your own pool and your space at this current moment in time, our next trip is going to be just purely in a villa. And as Claire's alluded to, I have tried to sort of say that there is value for money to be had in that villa market. It's just slightly further away from Disney you get, and you can get some fantastic villas. And I think with what we've proved as a family, even in lockdown days in the UK, is that we actually quite like each other's company. So it's not quite the whole thing about sort of needing to be out of each other's pockets. And I think the villa allows us that chance, and it allows us a chance to do as much or as little of the parks as we want. And it just, I don't know, it just works for us. And I think at this particular moment, that's where our next trip will be.
I think split stays are one of those really interesting things that we've tried before, and it works really well because you get that mixture of both being on site, off site, and it's our trip last year was literally we're going to do Disney and Universal, or Disney and a cruise. It was just having that bit so you're out of the bubble for a little bit, I think it's well, Ben, and I think that this is where the value of a villa comes in. When you stay on site, irrespective of which hotel it is, let's take that out of the equation. If you're staying on site, if you've got a dine-in plan, the food probably balances out the cost of staying on site. Once you don't have a dine-in plan and you're then paying for food on site all the time out of pocket, that becomes quite a big part of your cost. And I think that's where, certainly for me, I think Disney is sort of, I know that they've got their own problems of trying to recalibrate the whole of their business, and I think that hopefully the UK guests will be something that will return, and if it doesn't, that's maybe something that a lot of people might be sort of considerate of when they move forward as to where they want their stay to be.
I think you hit a really interesting point, John, about food, and I wonder if it's something we could revisit in a future episode. Actually, some of the off-site dining options are amazing, and whether you get an Uber because you're staying on site, or whether you've got a car because you're staying off site, or a lot of people who go and they stay in Disney eat in Disney all the time, and actually what you pay $15 for a kid's meal, for example, might cost you $5, and the quality is the same. And there are some really fantastic restaurants that don't set you back $150 for a meal for 4 people, and then your 18% service charge on top. So if you haven't got a dining plan, maybe that's something we need to touch on, where the good options are off site in a different show.
I'd agree with that.
Definitely. I mean, that could even slot into our next show,
possibly
pretty well. So stay tuned.
That just came off the top of my head.
No, that's a fab idea.
Claire, I think there is the option there, and I think as well it sort of follows naturally from this as well. But I think it's a damn good one because there are a lot of places that we can mention and actually have a chat about.
I think you're right, John, and I think when you look on various forums and certainly on social media, one of the massive questions that people ask is, where's good value offsite? Where's a good place to eat? And also, where can you get a discount? And we all love a discount. We all love a coupon. So there are some little tricks to the trade of getting some money off, which we could also touch on.
I think one reason why we were looking at the Disney Springs area hotels as well is because if it's a 10-minute walk to Disney Springs, there are less expensive options there, like Blaze Pizza and Deluxe Burger and places like
Chicken
that.
Guy.
And there's a Benihana down there as well.
Right.
The B Hotel.
Yeah.
Just saying. Not that that's the least expensive option. It's just a nice option.
Tepanido.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than. I don't know if it is cheaper than Tepanido.
Okay.
And John,
I
I heard you touch on there the parking at on-site hotels. I'd be interested if anyone knows how that compares to parking in the parks. Like if it's less expensive, more expensive.
It's $25 for a deluxe per night,
and $25 for a car park.
Yeah, so it's the same.
So if you're staying at a villa
moderate
and you're driving to the theme park, you're still having to pay the same amount.
Yeah.
So that's something that's interesting to compare.
Yeah.
But if you're staying at a moderate, it's less, isn't it? And if you're staying,
I think it's 21 and 18 for a value.
Yeah.
It used to be 15, 20, 25, but they've
Yeah.
brought the value and moderate closer to deluxe.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
they'll probably all cost the same.
The
And
difference
that's
is on site you don't need a car in theory, so
exactly.
you
Yeah.
could save that.
I think it's one of those things. Staying on site, if you've experienced having a car while being on site, as well as not having a car, Disney transportation is great. But sometimes would like that flexibility of being able to go off site for food. Because every time we've stayed on site, we've used Ubers to get around, which is great. But as we know, with COVID, there are a lot less Ubers and lifts. So we're contemplating a car for the next trip. So because we're DVC, we don't have to pay for the car parking.
It's not for some, mate.
So that's another
That's
benefit.
another benefit
the
of
other
renting
half live.
points at some point.
And even if you rent points, you don't have to pay for parking. Only parking at the theme parks.
That's good. No, it's just something to look at, when you were comparing the price of, parking and stuff. Like, if it depends how much you're going to be in the parks, it could be a similar cost.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things when you're adding everything all up and you've got your spreadsheet of like off-site, on-site, and all the options. It is a bit of a minefield.
Yep.
You love a spreadsheet, don't you, Ben?
Oh yeah.
Who doesn't love a spreadsheet? We need to get some of those out, actually.
I work in IT. My job is spreadsheets.
Loves it. He's an avid fan of the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think as well, once you actually write it all down and you actually take all of these costs into consideration, it does go back to food, and that's the strange part of it. I know people say, you're not getting the dining plan for free and stuff, but actually those food options can actually tip your choice. That's kind of the quality of hotel, because I think Peter and Jill, I think your idea of staying in one of the partner hotels isn't that a superb one, because that's again you're cutting out that cost of being in one of the prime Disney sites, but you're so close to Disney Springs, you've got absolutely everything on your doorstep. It's, everything's within touching distance. I think that's a great way again of just sort of working around that system and actually making it work for yourself. And I hope people listening are sort of equally sort of looking at all of this thinking, this could work for us.
Yeah, and I remember in 2016 we booked for nine of us, and it was comparing the options between value, because we all decided we want to stay on site. It was between value, moderate, or deluxe, and then we did all like working how much the food would cost, and it was only $400 per person difference to go from a value to a moderate. Yeah. And then
that included the dining plan.
So it was like $400 for 2 weeks to pay for all your food. That was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of number crunching, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got to be committed to getting the best deal.
Yeah. For our last trip, we stayed at Saratoga Springs, and we worked out that we had free DDP, and it was actually cheaper to stay at Saratoga Springs with the free full dining plan. Yeah. than to stay at Port Orleans with the free quick service dining plan and upgrade it.
Yeah.
So
And
no
at one point that was the case, and
Yeah.
Not anymore,
with
sadly.
both Saratoga and Old Key West, I think it
Because
was,
they used to do
Yeah.
30% off discounts.
at the
Yeah.
same time as the dining plan was available.
Yeah, we had Old Key West with a dining plan, and that was an amazing deal. But the prices now are insane.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe in a few
sadly,
years' time.
those days have gone.
I think
For now, it might come back.
Few years' time, they might
Back.
want to get us back.
they'll come back. You know, it's like I said, it's like a realignment of their business strategy, and I think that for all of us is really frustrating. You know, because I know that we've all had really good bargains, and I think really as we're all sat here desperate to get back in the parks, I'm thinking that, you know, I think we've said this in all of our shows. For anyone listening and anyone sort of looking for, well, you must do it this way. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. You
Not
do
at
it
all.
best for you and for your family and for the holiday that you actually want. And I think that's the nicest thing about it all, because you can still sit there and you can go through all of the numbers. You can sit there and go, we want to stay in this place in this particular part of whatever part of Orlando you're in. And that's personal to you as a you know, a booking a holiday. And there isn't no right way of doing it, and it's great. And that's right. That's why we all love planning. Why we all love planning a holiday. You're equally searching for a bargain, and in my case, that usually ends up a bargain that ends up with us staying on site for a bit. Also, you know, and that's the bits that we're desperate to actually enjoy at the moment. You know, because you really do. You go to the nth degree, and then you start looking at different options, different.
The thing is, John, you're right. You look at a bit and you think, oh, I can save $100 or £100 here, but I can put that towards something else on the trip.
It's
Like,
so you're
you're
never
right.
really saving anything, you're just moving it elsewhere.
But you're making your trip slightly better.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the other thing is that nobody should feel pressured to do it a certain way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I hope that when things reopen, there won't be like a surge of opportunistic booking options. And I'm not going to name any travel planning, travel agent type businesses, but I think there are stories, and I've got friends who've told me where they've gone into certain places and said, oh, we want to go to Orlando. They go, well, this is how you do it. This is what we can sell you. It's that or nothing. Well, that's not how it works. Actually, the world is your oyster. Literally, Walt Disney World is your oyster. You can do it in any way you wish. And don't be persuaded by somebody who's trying to flog you a package that that's the only option, because it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Money. We got 2 quotes for this possible trip in January, and one is slightly lower by about £500. Well, if you take that option, that is one of your Disney tickets.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Exactly. You got to work out the numbers for you and what your
Shop
preferences and what
around.
your priorities are.
Do the math.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, think that they have to, because it's such a big holiday, they think they have to go to a travel agent and kind of do it in a nice little neat package. But that's not, you don't have to do it that way at all. You can do it any way you want, and that can be part of the fun, you know, trying to like, oh, we'll do that bit here and we'll get that bit there and we'll put it together, you know. And I know that's definitely the fun for us.
I think at the moment we can't go to travel agents. We can't do the normal thing. So generally you'll be booking it online. So you're doing that work anyway to find a travel agent that you'd normally go to someone in the high street. But if you're doing that, you can do it yourself. It's just make sure you have the adequate travel insurance.
Yeah, and I think the more and more people look at doing it DIY and actually look at, you know, the biggest risk, I suppose, at the moment is booking your flights.
Yeah.
Once you've got your flights, then your choice of accommodation, as long as you're choosing to book anywhere somewhere online that's reputable. Be careful, because there are people, like with anything online, there are people who will be there to rip you off. But actually, it's a really simple thing to do, you know, and it saves you so much money, and yet. You know, and I feel for travel agents at times, because, you know, there's information out there online. There's podcasts like this So you're actually listening. You're being given more information that the actual travel agent can actually tell you about going on a Disney holiday.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely.
you know, it's be real and actually do your homework, and don't just sort of go and say, "Here's all my money, take it off, mate." Because by the time you come home and you're going to pay the credit card, I think you'd probably be mightily peeved when you find out how much other people have actually saved by just doing a little bit of the work themselves.
And most of the atoll protected websites will have a little atoll number at the bottom, so that you'll know that they are legit, as it were.
This reminds me of a trip we took to Disneyland Paris, and on the train we met a family, and the mother had done all the booking, and she booked Disneyland Hotel because that was the only one that she knew was there.
Yeah.
Yep. The travel agent hadn't told her that other hotels existed that were, half the price, on-site hotels, even.
Yeah.
So she booked Disneyland Hotel, and I'm sure they had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, plan. Yeah.
And then plan some more.
Yep.
The fun is in the planning.
Yeah.
For most of us.
Oh yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And don't be scared to ask someone that you know questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to ask us.
Yeah, with us, I think that's the nicest thing. I think we're all sort of quite visible online. We're all very, very visible in socials. And I think if you've got something that's what you're worried about, just send us a message and we'll tell you, don't worry about it. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And we're not sponsored by anybody. We're not linked to any specific agent.
We're very approachable. Well, some of us are.
We're open to sponsorship.
We're open to sponsorship, yes.
We're definitely open to sponsorship.
Maybe not by the travel agency, though, because I think we're just slating them off.
No.
I don't think that's the man from Tui on the phone at the minute,
Yeah.
I think we lost
Disney,
the
if
Virgin
you want
one
to.
because of Lloyd's sort of issue with Virgin Holidays last year.
Yeah, I think we've upset everybody.
We've burnt that. Yeah, we've burnt everything.
That's fine.
It's fine.
But I think
There'll be someone out there that we've not managed to annoy yet.
And I think we're not just talking of saving a couple of quid here. We can actually say, you could talk about thousands by the time you actually talk about flights, accommodation,
Definitely.
types of tickets as well.
That's a whole other chat.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle Travel Agents. Here for all your Disney and Orlando needs.
Travel support.
Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. So, leading on from this amazing chat, there has been a lot of changes happening around the perks of staying on site at Disney. With the Magical Express departing, we've been thinking about these perks as individual entities. So I'm going to pose this question to the group and we'll see what happens. Fastpass at Disney. Would you pay for it separately if it wasn't included? Go.
It depends on the price of the tickets.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. There are a lot of other Disney parks that in California with Max Pass that I think do it in a different way. Actually, probably a better way. Not everyone wants to book their fast passes and know what they're doing in the parks 60 days beforehand. And it's that thing, it's like you wait, when you used to wake up at 5 a.m. you open the app, see what's available. It's like flight of passage has gone great. The holiday's ruined because you can get one.
Ruined. You're just not going to bother.
On a particular ride.
Yeah.
See,
Then you might need to sort your priorities.
Yeah. See, I'm like the opposite. Like, I like to know that I've got, no matter how busy it is, I'm getting on some rides.
Yeah, I'm happy to know I've got those 3 rides planned.
But
and part of the fun is the planning of those 3 rides, which I'm going to go on.
As long as you get the ones you want.
No, even if I've got backups for if I can't get the ones that I want. I've got, options for 4, 5, and 6.
That is true. I think there are different ways of doing it because when you look at also not just Disney, but Universal have got their Express Pass, which is quite successful. I think Disney will probably bring back Fast Pass, whether they do it back to the 3 that they've got at the minute or whether they do, you can get 3, but you pay for additional ones because I know that they've had that for club level. So you can pay, is it $150? Or there's a certain thing to get an extra 3 fast passes a day.
That's what they do in Disneyland Paris as well. So if you stay Castle Club or Compass Club or Golden Forest, you tend to get additional one or more extra fast passes per day per guest, included in the club level rooms. So
you get a full time fast pass if you stayed in Castle Club. It used to be that you could get an
unlimited.
Yeah.
So if you stay in the suites, you get unlimited fast passes.
Right, okay.
But if you just stay in a basic club level Castle Club, you get.
Okay.
It's tough because I don't ever see myself paying for express passes for Universal. So in that kind of same vein, I wouldn't do it for Disney, but I don't know. It's tough to like try and decide.
If you put it this way, your ticket is £500 with Disney for 2 weeks, but you get your fast passes. If they load it to £300,
would you pay
your
for
ticket?
them?
Would you pay that £200 extra for your fast pass, or would you not have them?
It would depend on whether they're doing it as a. I assume they would do it as a daily thing. At which point I would possibly think, well, maybe I'll buy it for a couple of days, but not every day.
Yeah. So daily Animal Kingdom for flight passes.
So I can get those.
Or you might do it 1 day per park, so that you know that you can get Rise of the Resistance. So it's interesting, isn't it? Again, I think it goes back to what your priorities are when you're in the park. So for me, actually, running from ride to ride is not top of my agenda. And we've done trips where certainly, at DLP, when you've got the Legacy Fast Pass still in place, and we've done 4 days, and across those 4 days, we've literally done 15 attractions total. That's it, over 4 days. And that's because we've watched parades, we've sat in the sunshine, we've chilled out. And so to do ride after ride after ride, which would require fast passes, is not something that necessarily I'm desperate to do. So I'm not sure whether we would or not. I think we might do a couple of days if it was an option just to do odd day here and there. But I'm not sure we'd pay for it for the whole thing.
It's something that we would consider because Jill doesn't go on many of the big rides, in fact, none of them. And I like them, and not all of them have a single rider. So it might be useful for at least me to have some kind of bought fast pass so I can go on all the big rides.
I don't know what's the plan might be if there's kind of a thrills level fast pass and a wimp level fast pass or whatever, like some other parks in the UK have.
Well, it almost sounds like the old e-ticket attraction.
Yeah.
Doesn't Disneyland Paris's fast passes have kind of tiers? So you're
thrill level,
level. That's one set that's for
absolutely, yeah. So you can get a family one, which has got things like Peter Pan and Dumbo,
Small World.
Small World. I wouldn't ever pay for a fast pass for the Small World.
It
doesn't have a fast pass line. No, it doesn't have a fast pass line. But Dumbo, Peter Pan, Haunted Mansion. Those types of Phantom Manor type rides. And then they do one which has got the thrill attractions. So it's got Big Thunder, it's got Indiana Jones, it's got Space Mountain, Hyperspace Mountain, and Star Tours.
I think the thing about DLP though is obviously it's not essential unless I guess you're sort of over from America and you're here for your only trip in your entire life and you've only got 2 days or something.
A lot of people only go for a couple of days though, Jill. That's the thing that a lot of people go for 1 day, for 2 days maybe, and there isn't. In that case, actually it might be useful, but if you're going for more than 3 days, it's not necessary, and certainly not at the moment because Disney Studios is kind of empty. So there's nothing to fast pass.
Well, technically, at the minute, Disney Park's kind of empty as well.
It's very empty at the moment, but
very closed.
I think when the Marvel Avengers campus opens, there's a couple of things coming there that might be worth thinking about, but we're a couple of years, and certainly when the Frozen area and everything is there, it'll be a bit more to think about in Disneyland Paris. But if I was going for 3 days or more, I absolutely would never pay for a fast pass, and I'd never recommend anyone to pay. Sorry, Disney.
Disneyland Paris, anyway.
You could pay for a fast pass in Disneyland Paris if you really wanted to. Yeah, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
I think for me in Walt Disney World, if there was the option, I would probably consider it, partly because I don't like unnecessary hanging around. If I'm not in a ride, then I want to be somewhere I enjoy being. So sitting with a drink or enjoying the scenery or whatever. I don't want to be stuck in a queue for an hour. So, and because, as I say, Peter goes on all the bigger rides and I don't, if he has a fast pass, then that's less time me hanging around.
Yeah,
That's true. It would maybe suit Peter then. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Although you say you don't like being in a queue, surely that depends on the queue. Some of the queues are really good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you,
I'd
John?
quite happily.
I've got a completely different take on this, and I decided. I thought, I listened to what everyone else got to say because I really, I've thought about this long and hard because I thought it was a really fantastic topic to really get me my Disney gnawing brain in tip-top condition, you see. So I've already complained about the lack of the dining plan. I'm going to go back and you look back at the legacy fast pass in Walt Disney World, the paper ones where you had to be up early, you had to make the effort to be in the park, bright and breezy to make the use of it, and if you did, it was great because you could have an absolutely amazing day if you just slammed your ticket back in on the hour, every hour, and you made that work. So once they changed and it became you book months in advance, that actually helped an awful lot. And I think for a lot of people that became a real benefit because you could then choose whether you wanted to go in early or if you wanted to have a late night park visit. You knew you would still get the rides done. And I'm very much down the line that actually, if that works, and I think this Magic Kingdom, it doesn't work if it rains because they sling out all the fast passes that for 2 hours worth of rain, everyone goes and queues up in the fast pass line, and if you're in the standby line, you've got no chance on the 7 Dwarfs 9 train. But at what point does that then become another thing that Disney take away from you? And I think Ben's point earlier about if there was a marked reduction in ticket price, I would definitely do it. However, I don't see that happening. I don't see the British or even American market, going to Disney and suddenly finding that they're going to cut the price of the tickets. And I'm vehemently against paying for a fast pass. Even if I went to Flamingo Land, I won't do their version of fast pass for however much they charge there because I feel as if I'm getting ripped off. And so if I went to Walt Disney World, I would probably revert back to that legacy fast pass routine of getting up early, getting in before the majority of people have got to the parks, getting the rides done, if it meant avoiding having to pay. And I know it sounds tight again, and I keep coming across really tight, but it really annoys me because I think, again, this point comes up again and again. Yeah, different parks have got different ways of doing it, but if it works, and it does work at Walt Disney World, it worked exceptionally well. That whole transition from paper fast passes into magic bands and so on, and to throw that all away and start charging, I think it's just another kick in the teeth, and I think it would really annoy me. Yep. And it would really annoy an awful lot of other people, and I think it goes against what you'd want out of a park visit, particularly when there's 4 parks. And I think you've really got to tread carefully. On some days, you've got a young family. You want to know that you've got Winnie the Pooh, you've got Peter Pan. You want your kids to have a fantastic day out, and I think that's perhaps going to be used moving forward as a way of nickel and diming people. And I don't use that term an awful lot about Disney because they do it very well. But I think this is just a low blow, and I think if they ever thought of doing it, I'd I'd possibly be straight on the phone to somebody who'd maybe listen.
I think the only complaints I've ever found online or about sort of the Fastpass system or Disney World is from locals.
Yeah.
Get to the point where they go, okay, there's no capacity. When you look at Flight of Passage, when you're in the park, you can't get one. And I think but they do have the benefit of living closer to Disney.
I was going to say
they
they have
the
the
morning, they
benefit
go
of
in the
being
evening.
I have
able to
zero
every
sympathy
one.
for the people
So
who live
I think that's the
Also-
only complaint that I found.
They would have had that
against it.
same problem with the legacy Fastpass system,
Yeah.
especially on the popular rides, because it got to about 10:30 in the morning, and there was suddenly no
I think what
fast
has
passes left available for the big rides like Toy Story Mania and Mania Soarin' and that sort of
I
thing.
think
When
what
we
has
went,
surprised a lot of people is if anyone's seen any videos or vlogs from the current sort of state in Walt Disney World, the queue lines look really long, but they're actually only taking half the amount of posted time. So
they're just spaced out, aren't they?
Because
a
the
lot of
social
locals are
distancing,
pushing for Fastpass not to return in certain ways like that because it's working. But then on the other hand, people like to plan like us, that we like to know in advance what we're doing. We plan 6 months before what we're eating.
Yeah. I think if you're traveling 4,500 miles,
you want to know what's going on.
I think there's a middle ground, which is the approach that Disneyland Paris and also California have taken in terms of that Max Pass approach, which is that the legacy Fast Pass remains. It's free. It's available for all guests who have a valid ticket. You take your chances. If you come in later in the day, you know what, you might not get anything, but if you're there first thing in the morning and you can walk to, Buzz Lightyear and get your ticket, then great. Or you can pay $15, or I think it's gone up to $20 in California now, and then you can book them on your app, and you've got a bit more of a priority, but it's still on the day. That seems to me like a really good middle ground. And if you've got two parks and you're there for 5 days, you might pay for 1 day to have Max Pass for your family, so you can hit those big rides in both parks. That you've got park hopper between the two, and then you're gonna hit those things that you want to see, and then the rest of the time you take your chances with the crowds. And that for me seems like a comfortable place to be. To be able to have to pay for it every day just to get on anything, I think that's not okay. At all.
Especially when you look from our perspective, if we go for 2 weeks at a time, usually.
Yeah, exactly.
And that just doesn't work. I'm wondering whether they'll do something like if they were to charge per day, but whether they did for a 2-week thing, they added it into your ticket.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will, because they haven't done that with parking.
No, that's true.
If they can charge you on a daily rate, they will. That's
going back to Max Pass, it also includes their photo pass as well. So
it does.
It's something that isn't included in a normal ticket. So it's another thing. They might charge $20 for it, but you're also getting a few added benefits in there. And I think there are some perks, like we said before, staying on site at Disney, there are perks and there are things that are changing. Everything's with COVID, everything's in a state of flux at the minute because no one knows what the actual replacement is, or with Magical Express. No, we'll just have to wait and see what Disney come up with.
It wouldn't be worth it for Brits, I think, having the Max Pass include the photos, because as it stands, our tickets include
Memory Maker.
Yeah.
That's true. And I wonder how Disney are going to go forward with this, because they're talking about their Genie app, which is like replacing my Disney experience. So I'm wondering whether...
Are they still doing that Genie app?
Apparently that's still going ahead, but whether it's something that they don't know how... It's probably been geared around how the old Fastpass system, or the current, what was that current Fastpass system, and sort of the data they were using from that, how that would translate to what parks are going to be looking from next year.
It's possible that what they might do is have the normal Fastpass Plus system, and then you can pay for the Genie app.
Yeah,
maybe so. We all know how well Disney IT works first time.
Yeah, I'll stick to the Fastpass Plus. I can organise my own life.
Magic bands have not gone, but they just want you to pay for them. And has anyone seen the pictures of the cards?
I have. Don't they look like the old travel luggage tags?
Yeah,
I feel a collection.
Yeah. They are really cool. I really like them. But I'd still have a Magic Band. I'd still use a Magic Band.
I'd still much rather use a Magic Band.
just for Disney to make money out of.
Mm-hmm.
That's purely what.
Especially when, for a lot of the doors, you can open them up with your mobile phone.
Which is what I think they're trying to get people to use their phone. So eventually they might not have to think about magic bands. And that's where your Genie app comes in. Because you're already using your phone to unlock your door. They've already got you using it for something. They'll have it for everything else.
If they want you to do that, then they should just get you to do that and get rid of the cards.
Knowing how often my phone runs out of juice,
but then they'll sell you a charging block.
Yes, they will say.
Ever realize.
Or they'll have a spare key that you can go down to reception and go, my phone's dead, I can't get in my key.
Well, they'll sell you a fuel rod for your phone, don't worry.
But
And they'll come with you and open the door.
having that convenience of having your magic band and not even having to get anything out of your bag or your pocket or your lanyard is just brilliant.
Yes.
Apple Watch. I think there is something about when
a lot of things that
yeah.
technology, as we all know, moves on. Disney have got into that thing where they've bought into the Magic Plus and Magic Band system. It's a very good amount of money they invested in everything, but then they've got to stay on top of it because things will move on. People aren't going to want to buy sort of a Magic Band if they've got a watch that can do the same thing.
Yeah,
maybe watch can't do the same thing.
Watches can unlock
Not
hotel
yet.
rooms. Not Disney, but they can. If you go to Hilton, you go to your restaurant on the app, you can use your watch. So I think it's only a step.
It's only a matter of time.
And
It's about the options. Disney needs to make sure they've got the options that cover everybody because not everybody in the world owns an Apple Watch.
No. Not everyone owns a smartphone.
Exactly.
No.
I think as well, and I think this is perhaps where Disney's thinking with the Magic Band becoming a chargeable item, but it's the amount of plastic involved.
Yeah.
And as a company, they need to be seen as reducing their plastic wastage and single use magic bands that you're giving away for free to every guest, given the amount of plastic that's involved, is possibly not going to score very highly on any sort of sustainability survey that they have to fill in. So again,
some of us keep those magic bands. We don't throw them away.
Oh no, I've got them all here, but they're not probably going to get used again because the next trip we get, I'm going to go and buy another magic band because, like Jill, I actually like that. I really love. I don't wear a watch when I'm at home, but I go on holiday and I've got magic band on, and actually that's me. I'm sorted because I know I don't have to be worrying about where the tickets are. I don't have to be getting them out of the bag every 5 minutes, out of my back pocket. It's there. You just
don't even have to carry your wallet with you, John. Charge it to your room.
Yeah, that's even better, isn't it?
Exactly. But you don't realise how much you're spending though when you do that.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Until checkout day, anyway.
No, I don't know. You keep an eye on it on your phone, or I keep an eye on it.
You keep an eye on it. I don't.
Just make sure you're not spending too much.
Never.
Pandora.
I don't buy Pandora.
Or Dooney and Burke.
That's better.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
I did get my band and my magic band and my watch mixed up one time. I tried. I tried to have a photo done.
Yeah. With my watch. Oh, photographer went, no, sir.
No, so that's
wrong one.
Yeah.
Wrong arm.
I think they've missed a trick actually in that respect, Peter, as well, because the little insert where the actual sort of the live part of the magic band in the center is actually removable. It's got like two little pins, two little screws in the back. Yeah. What they could actually, if they thought about it, they could actually have made just an ordinary sort of digital watch or whatever that you could just slot into there and you'd wear it all the time.
Cool.
But no, I think I agree with John. There's no way that I would pay for a Fastpass if the ticket price was the same. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Same.
Yeah.
No way.
I think Disney's prices for tickets are very expensive for Disney World compared to other parks.
Especially for us Brits, we get a really good deal with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you consider it's 14 days worth of tickets. But if you're buying them day to day or 2 or 3 days from the ticket people, I can't think of the right name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magic My Way ticket. Then they're really quite expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to then have to pay for your fast passes on top of that, if you want them, is a bit not fair.
I think it's worth saying, just to be clear to anyone who's listening, we don't know anything and we have not been told that Disney are going to be charging for fast passes. This is just us ruminating and discussing. So please don't think for a minute that we know something you don't. We absolutely don't. We're just hoping that that's not the case, much like everybody else.
Yeah, and Disney, if you're listening to this, just ignore everything we're saying.
Yeah, we're not giving...
We're not giving you ideas.
Just go, make them as cheap as possible. Listen to that bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or don't do it. Don't change anything.
But yeah, we know nothing. This is not something that we've had any information about.
Sammie, I'm just going to pick up because you're quite big on your Universal trips. And
I am.
Would you actually use their paid-for version of Fastpass?
No, and it's for there's a few different reasons why I wouldn't pay for it.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons is Universal have single rider on pretty much every single ride. So I'm pretty happy to do the rides that way. And the second reason is I've never been when it's been that bad, like I've never kind of been waiting in a queue and being like, okay, this is too long, or I wish I'd got, the fast pass, the express pass and stuff like that. But it's different for every family, I think, definitely. I think I'm not actually sure how much it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not too bad. I think it's pretty reasonably priced, but
it's flexible. They've got flexible pricing as well, which I find quite
but personally, it's not.
If you're going in August and it's peak time, to be charged for a family of four having to pay for maximum prices for your fast passes, I find that quite insulting in a way. And there's
I think the cheapest I found was $90 a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's if you're a family of four, it sometimes works out cheaper to buy a hotel stay for one of the hotels that gets included.
Yeah,
definitely,
because you get 2 days worth of passes out of that.
Yeah,
we stayed at Hotel Bay.
Yeah, Sammie, can I ask you a question about single rider? In these times of COVID,
yes,
how do you feel about single rider lines? Because it's something that I have been thinking about. What would you do? So for me, if I went, I can talk about how I feel about it. I would really consider it very carefully going on a single rider line now and potentially being sat next to someone who didn't want to wear a mask or whatever it was. Actually, somebody you don't know their wellness status. I'm going to put it that way.
Yeah.
What do other people think about that?
I've not really thought about it, but I don't think I could.
Well, I think in COVID times, single rider isn't a thing. I don't think it is a thing right now. I don't think the single rider queues are open. And if they were, I would assume that they wouldn't be putting you with someone else because, you have to stay in your parties right now during COVID times. So during COVID times, I wouldn't use it if they were going to sit me beside someone I didn't know. But like I said, I don't think single riders lines are open at the moment.
No, I think you're right, Sammie. But I think if they were open, it would be a bit different because I know both Disney and Universal have more recently upped the use of plexiglass on rides to make sure that they can fill the capacity of the cars. To make sure the queue lengths aren't too long. But it's one of those things. I'm with you. I wouldn't want to use single rider in COVID.
Well, I barely want to sit next to my family.
But at least they haven't got COVID.
We're a separate.
If there wasn't plexiglass between me and the person, I wouldn't do it. No, not in this time. But I was going to say the one place I have actually paid for express, as it were, is actually Busch Gardens in SeaWorld. They have I think it's called Quick Queue, and that's actually really decent value. If you're someone who likes to do like the big coasters and stuff like that, you can get on and off really quickly, and it's pretty reasonably priced. So I have actually done that there, but I've never done it at Universal.
We've done it at Universal before, but we didn't pay for it. What happened? We had a complaint with Universal because we went to the park when there was a power cut and the power didn't come back on for like
The whole day.
So we were there and
So they gave us for our next trip.
Was it 9 single-use express passes?
Okay.
So we used them on our next trip and we didn't need them. It was so quiet.
Not that particular day, we didn't know. We should have used them a different day when it was busier.
Again, that is another thing. Like, it depends on what time of year you go and how busy the parks are.
Yeah.
That's another like thing that goes into it.
Okay, so if you stay in one of the big 3 hotels, the type of Fastpass you get is unlimited. So you can go on any of the express pass rides as often as you like. And as we said, if you stay one night, you can check in like 6:30 in the morning on your first day, get a whole day of passes, stay one night, check out the next morning, get a whole other day. So that can be well worth it. Whereas the type that you go and buy in the park, I think it's only one ride on each of the rides.
Yeah.
I think
Can you buy an unlimited one as well?
I was going to say, I think you can buy an unlimited one.
Right, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
I think you might be able to.
Right.
Yeah, you have the option to buy either.
Yeah.
Well, I think no matter what happens, we all hope that the perk of included fast passes doesn't go anywhere. It's definitely one of the best perks included with any theme park holiday.
Yeah.
And that's it, folks. That's the end of the show. If you've enjoyed our waffling, then please remember to subscribe to our podcast and leave a like, a comment, a review. Anything along those lines really helps out our show. We have a live show every month, as well as our new weekly Waffler Wednesday live show. So you should definitely come along and check that out. If you want to know more and keep up to date with all our goings on, you can find and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GB Mickey Waffle, or email us at themickeywaffle@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us, and the only thing left to say is waffle on.
Waffle on.